The heartbeat of a busy city stilled for just a moment as the lone warbird made a fleeting pass overhead, the distinctive drumming of its engine rewarding a few patient devotees. The flyover marked the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. Bad weather had postponed the flight last week and forced a memorial service indoors. Owned by Colpay and based at Scone, it's the only flying Spitfire in Australia and one of a handful in the world. More than 20,000 were built during the war, a famous few holding back the tide of a German invasion. Looking just as warlike, but with its wheels firmly on the ground, this replica at Charlestown Square hints of the deadly seriousness of that bygone era. Bristling with 50mm machine guns and cannons, the plane was powered by a V12 Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. It could fly at 240 kilometres an hour, or at the speed of sound in a dive. The display finishes on Thursday night. Andrew Lobb for NBN News.
It sounds like Middle America, but it comes from 5 bonny Glasgow lads. Amitri are a band determined not to be pigeonholed by their nationality.
The music we've listened to has always been, just like British and American, Australian, Canadian rock bands, and that's the kind of, they're the kind of records we want to make, like old Rod Stewart records, Neil Young records, that kind of thing. It's just what we're into. We've never really listened to Scottish fiddle music or anything like that.
They're on stage in Newcastle at the moment, playing the mixture of traditional blues rock and bitingly contemporary lyrics that have taken them to the top of the world's music charts. Justin Curry says if he knew the secret of his success, he'd be the first to bottle it. But perhaps it all comes back to simply enjoying what you do.
It's just rock and roll. There's nothing particularly, earth-shatteringly groundbreaking about it. It's just what we do. We do it with a bit of joy.
Fred Pearce was known in two main circles, the rag trade, where he, along with his widow Gwen, established the Remtex chain of fabric shops, and in the musical world as owner of the Palais Royal nightclub, which his father opened in 1929. The Pearce family also ran the skating rink at the old Newcastle West Stadium in Steel Street just before and after the Second World War. Even though in his 70s, the earthquake which tore apart both his Newcastle shops in King Street and Hunter Street didn't stop him. Mr Pearce simply moved his business to Mattara in January and retained his curry shop as well. The family will continue to operate the businesses. Fred Pearce's funeral will be held Monday morning at St Stephen's in Brunker Road, Adamstown.
At the moment, work on the 4-kilometre stretch is right on schedule, but its reduced budget allocation means construction will stop in November and will not start again for at least 8 months, according to an unhappy Ivan Welsh. Already he has appealed to Minister for Roads, Wal Murray. He believes the deserted site will lead to soil erosion and pollution to Lake Macquarie, and he claims temporary work to stop this happening and then its reversal when work starts up again would be a waste of money. He also fears the death toll on the Black Spot S-Bends could rise, adding to the 6 fatalities and over 100 injuries in the past 5 years.
There's not only the loss of life and the damage that may be caused on the road there, but there are people in the Swansea area that have been continually flooded, and this work was supposed to give some mitigation to that flooding problem. Now, we've been telling those people we're going to put it back until this work's completed. What's happened now is this is going to be left in limbo, and those people are still going to be suffering, and I won't put up with that.
In May this year, the Roads and Traffic Authority said an extra $1 million spent on filling an old coal seam was money well spent. In July, it remained confident of the completion date, despite rumours of lack of funding. Now it says Swansea's reduced allocation was the result of urgent flood-damaged repairs, especially in the Lower Hunter. Today, the Roads and Traffic Authority said the pace of work has been slowed, causing a 6 to 12-month delay, but it denies work will stop. And despite the drop in funding, vegetation will be replanted and measures taken to stop any erosion of soil that could lead to siltation of Lake Macquarie, work that would have been carried out anyway, according to the RTA. Rebecca Skinner for NBN News.
Norths opened Welland in the 5th minute from a short corner. Russell Stanbury beat Deering and everyone feared a cakewalk to the champions. Dale Arthur went close for Norths, but his shot was just wide. Then in the 13th minute, James Tansley laid on a beautiful ball for Ashley Bosworth and the young forward shot brilliantly and it was 1-1. Arthur again attacked for Norths, but the shot was wide. The umpires had their hands full and handed out yellow cards to 2 West players, and for a while West defended vigorously and were successful in keeping Norths at bay. 1-1 at the break, and then in the 8th minute of the second half, West were given a penalty, and it was Jason Farrow who stepped up to put West in front. But it wasn't to be, as he missed everything. Late in the second half, Richard Campbell found the net for Norths, but his teammates were ruled offside. The match went into 2 7.5-minute periods of extra time, and just before the end, Craig Tonks made the save that forced a penalty shootout. If you are in a similar situation, it helps if you have the Australian goalkeeper on your side. For Norths, Campbell's shot was saved by Deering. Harvey Plumstead was up next for Wests, and Colin Ford was also brilliant. Stephen Charlton had a chance to put a goal on the board, but again Deering made the save. Jason Farrow's second penalty of the day, and he made no mistake. Norths were under pressure and the superb skills of Deering denied Greg Charlton. Stephen Deering's turn to put a nail in the coffin and he was right on target. Gary Kaiser pulled one back for Norths with a fine shot and then all eyes were on James Tansley as the goal would give West the title. A great win for West in a marvellous game of hockey.
The title tells you next to nothing about the actual sport and a whole lot about the difficulties of translating German into English. It's like a cross between lawn bowls and the 10-pin game and has a large following in Europe where it is played on ice and a growing one in Australia where the average bitumen car park will do just fine.
Well, at the moment in Europe, it's the places that play it is more popular than soccer. It's been going on for about, say, 100 years or so. In Australia, in Melbourne, they've done it for 7 years. Sydney, I think it's about 2 years, and I'm really starting it off next year in Newcastle here.
The object of the game is to hurl a 5-kilo shot down the length of the playing field, leaving it as close as possible to the small circular kitty. This demonstration marked the first time the sport has been seen in the Hunter, but even the uninitiated were left impressed.
It's pretty good. It's not hard, really. Just got to get used to it. It's like 10-pin bowling, really.
I enjoy shooting, first of all, then the entertainment for the whole group, and I think it's terrific, just terrific.
Those sponsors were recognised at Mattara's official launch at Queen's Wharf today. 35 major events will be staged at a cost of more than $100,000. And the most successful components of last year's festival are on again.
Starting off with the torchlight procession on the Friday night, we have at the other end of the festival, we have the Grand Parade, we have the MG Car Club Hill Climb, we have entertainment at the park for 10 days, we have a billy cart derby, we have the Qantas hole-in-one competition. Amazing things happening right throughout Mattara.
Most of the activity will centre around 3 prominent city venues. Civic Park will host a family fun day, King Edward Park provides the dramatic hill climb course, and the harbour foreshore is home to the popular Birdman event. The Mattara name in Aboriginal means Hand of Friendship, and organisers hope this year's Springtime Festival will provide a focus for celebration in a city coming to terms with December's earthquake.
The Newcastle Workers' Club was in mourning today as members faced their second tragedy within 12 months.
I only know the one lady that was injured, Flo Rowe, and I met her through coming to the old Workers' Club before the earthquake.
So I know one lady, Myrtle Dunlop, from Georgetown, a very nice person.
Julia Graham, very nice lady. We're all going to miss her very much.
Ironically, one of their guests was from the Mount Tamborine area.
I'm from the Gold Coast, and I've been up and down that road many times. It's very, very narrow and very steep.
The entire city was shaken by the horrific incident, and there were some emotional scenes as the names of those killed were released. A Hamilton neighbour told of Dulcie Swan's dream of a family Christmas.
She was going to come back. She was going over to New Zealand in December to see her son over there, son and daughter-in-law and the grandkiddies over there. And so I think she was going to spend Christmas over there, as a matter of fact.
It was a worrying day for Gwen Hart as she waited for news on Joan and Shirley Thompson, the 2 cousins she says saved for months to pay for their trip away.
Shirley Thompson's husband died last year, and she wanted a holiday because she was terribly upset, and that's how they went. They just saved $6 each a week for their fare, for their spending money.
Joan Thompson suffered only minor injuries in the crash, but her sister-in-law Shirley is tonight in Brisbane's Princess Alexandra Hospital in a dangerously ill but stable condition. Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.
It doesn't matter what the disaster is. We need two things. We need a response group in New South Wales, and the Premier must take a personal interest in this. I'm sick of saying it, but he must do that, because it's not a big deal in the overall scheme of things of running the state of New South Wales, but it is incredibly important in the position of any sort of a disaster. We must have that. The second thing is we must have research into knowing how to handle these things to minimise the damage. We've done extremely well in Newcastle, but it's only because of the particular amalgam of people around the city that it made that occur. There's no guarantee that that would occur anywhere else.
Once again, the city is helping itself. The Newcastle Pensioners Advisory Service is working to help the relatives of people involved in the horror crash.
We were able to tell people what information we do have about what's happening. We're able to provide information also about the kinds of services people may need when they return to Newcastle, things such as crisis counselling, financial assistance and so on. We're also able to sit down and listen to people if they want to tell us about the kinds of problems they have, so we can lend an ear as well.
Some people are unable to raise the money for the trip to Queensland to visit the injured or identify the dead. They're being advised to apply for emergency funds from Family and Community Services.
People can possibly apply before they go up there, but of course they're not going to wait around here. I believe they can apply in Queensland. Also, of course, to the local welfare agencies such as St Vincent de Paul and others. When they come back, though, if they do find that they're financially disadvantaged by that, they can apply to FACTS for money. I'm not sure what the guidelines are, but certainly it would be worth people's while to apply and see whether or not they can get some financial assistance.
It doesn't take much imagination to realise how this accident had the potential to be a disaster. In spite of crashing down the steep embankment, the heavily laden truck and trailer stayed upright, and this time there was no solid tree waiting to bring it to a deadly stop. But it was still a frightening experience for the driver.
Oh, it was about 3 o'clock this morning. I came around the corner there, hit this great hole and just sheared the front spring off the hanger, and in a matter of seconds I was out of the bloody bank.
Although an RTA crew quickly arrived to fill in the hole, police and the truck's owner confirmed it certainly had existed. Marks on the road leading from the hole are graphic evidence of what happened. Coincidentally, the pothole was only metres from another monster we spotted while driving to a Pacific Highway conference last month. After that hole was reported to the district RTA engineer, it was fixed. The chilling thought about today's incident is that if a pothole can smash the suspension of a heavy truck, it could do the same to a tourist coach. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.
Speaking in NBN studios this morning, Mr Morris revealed new ammunition to keep the Australian maritime safety issue alive. He claims that the government was not only hoodwinked by bogus cost estimates, but was also the victim of a secret power play within the Sea Safety Centre. He says Minister for Shipping and Aviation Support Senator Bob Collins was threatened with a mass resignation of key safety personnel if he went ahead with the AMSA relocation. And Mr Morris says he now knows who those people are.
They make up 12 of the 212 people who work at AMSA. They have nothing to do with ship safety, sea pollution, all the other aspects of maritime safety. Yet they appear to be capable of determining the whole operation and the whole decision-making process. I believe the government's effectively been held to ransom, and that is why this decision must be reconsidered and must be reviewed.
Mr Morris says the outcry over the handling of the Rock and Robin search gave those key personnel the power they needed to embarrass the government by threatening to stage a very public mutiny.
If they all left at much the same time, there would be no search and rescue service at potentially the height of the boating season in Australia.
Do you believe that's a deliberate act?
I believe that was a very considered act, as the strongest weapon they had in their capacity to change the government's decision. I believe that the government was told, in effect, you change your mind or else you have no rescue service.
Late today, a spokesman for Senator Collins' office categorically denied the allegations. Mr Morris says he will take the matter further when Parliament resumes in 2 weeks.
Hope you have a great trip and come back with all of the bits and pieces that you're going for. Gold.
Okay, thanks a lot, and I'd like to say a special thanks to Advance Housing for helping me out with the money. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Hobson has a busy weekend as part of the New South Wales amateur titles at the Newcastle Police Boys Club, which get underway tomorrow night. Along with Spike Cheney, many other Commonwealth Games fighters will also be taking part.